today with Kevin at Empire Canvas and Wool Company. We're putting together a Boreal shirt out of a Hudson Bay blanket. And he is serging all the pieces, I believe, getting ready to sew the garment. Really amazing to see how the process goes, how much work and time goes into getting the pieces that fit, and the way they're sold, it's unbelievable.
Ballet of disaster.
Ballet of disaster. And then if you run into a problem, there you go, pound head here.
Finish up the hood here. All right, now that I'm done chewing, I can talk. Rolling the gusset into the hood panel here, creating the little draw cord tunnel at the same time. Quick bobbin and swap.
Just some of the amazing stuff he's got. Those are just his personal gloves. They are so nice. Got a pair of boots going over here he's making.
This blanket fabric is about twice as thick and dense as the normal USGI stuff we use for stock, so we're running a bit slower than average putting these hoods together. It's kind of right about the limit of what the machinery will take.
Those of you who know me know my propensity to wear only wool sweaters or anoraks. And this donor, this happened to be a Hudson Bay 6-point blanket that I got. Was happy to give it up.
Yeah, and we've murdered it.
For those of you who believe it's sacrilege, sorry.
Yeah, well, sue us. So, that's all the magic that goes into the front. Now we're going to punch these grommet holes and sink straight on through all 4 layers.
Helps to take my elbows off the table so that I'm not vibrating with the hammer in the grommet.
This is a size 0 spurred rolled rim stainless steel grommet. Punch through 2 layers of wool and a layer of webbing and a few other things. That's not it. That's the one. The press and set snap setter. A couple of grommet ties on there. And these are set through a piece of webbing trapped inside this fold, so that they're always in alignment with each other when they're set properly, and they never pull through. And in the 15 to 18 years I've been using these grommets, I have yet to see one fail from ordinary use.
Yeah, for us practical guys, setting grommets tend to be difficult because they move if you don't hit the pressure just right.
Yeah. I've gone to a snap setter or a foot setter for everything because I am not a fan of bashing my knuckles. The top and the bottom die align to hold it in place. Roll the rim over, catch it on itself. They're a little pricey, but they're absolutely worth it if you're only going to do it once on a garment. And there we go. We set this one earlier in the process because it goes into this tunnel, and the rest of these are punched straight through the fold there and will hold the lacing on the hood. This is a beautiful thick blanket. It's a pleasure to work with this stuff.
For all of you who subscribe to my channel and new to my channel, please don't send me any dumb messages about it being sacrilegious. It's a tool. Blankets were made to be used.
Alright, so every seam we put together starts with a good lock stitch, usually about 3/4 or almost a 1/2 inch in. And then we'll serge it, and then come back and lock it down once more. So you've got 3 passes per seam. On the larger machine. So we've been working prepping these pieces. We've got the front panel of the shirt marked for where the pocket placement is. We've got our 2 sleeves, reinforcement patches on the elbows, and then we've got the back. Set the back aside. Set the sleeves aside for now. We're going to put this internal security pocket right here on its mark. This is 2 layers of supplex nylon, sized roughly for a wallet or a cell phone, the keys, anything you don't want coming out of your pocket, and you also don't want wearing holes in your pocket. So we've gone nylon on nylon to keep that EDC stuff from rattling around and poking holes in our delicate wool. And the nylon itself is hot cut, so there's no way the panel is going to fray. Set a number 5 YKK coil zipper on here. I'm going to stitch once around the outside to lock it down. Doing a back tack on these little anchor fobs here on these rings. back and forth over the zipper ends because they're going to get a little bit of stress over the life of the garment. And finishing up. So that's set mid-chest. It's about roughly 5 by 5 interior dimensions. Really good for just holding whatever you need to keep locked away. This is the exterior pocket, the flap that goes on the outside. If you flip that inside out, you see you've got 3 Supplex nylon stash pockets here if you're gathering anything. This may be the first time somebody's filmed the inside of a Boreal shirt. There's a couple thousand of them out there, but this is the original. We were the first here 10 years ago, and the design has changed zero since then. We might have updated some of the fabrics, but for the most part, this is how they've always gone together. And we've got this one, because it is a Hudson Bay, and it's got these lovely stripes on it. We've got it patterned so that when everything goes together, the shirt itself should line up along that one guiding line, that one gig line of the black stripe there in the bottom of the blanket. Just checking to make sure I'm spaced about evenly on here before I put this top panel on.
Yeah, I was lucky this 6-point was big enough for me.
And generally blankets are long enough to go on a bed. Where we run into difficulty is when they're not wide enough to be able to get a front and a back panel, the sleeves, and this pocket all lined up with that stripe on it. You can get a garment out of it, but making it really line up and look nice has been the difficult part with these nicer blankets. Alright, so we've got that on there. I'm going to go ahead and just pin this down in its orientation. And this is an older blanket, a beautiful classic one, so over time, whatever it is that they did in the dyeing or the weaving to put this black thread in here it's got a little wobbly. Green seems stable, the black, for whatever reason, isn't. So we're going to kind of just mash it into place as we go and work around, making sure that we do line up this stripe across the center.
So Kevin, I know you're doing now these shirts for customers that have their own blankets.
Yep.
With this particular, whether it's an Early's or a Whitney's or a Hudson Bay, would they tend to make a nicer shirt than let's say the Italian wool ones?
Yes and no. And really the blanket personality determines the personality of the garments. These are made by Lester River Bushcraft all year. It's one of their standard products. Jason and I worked on the original design together, and he has been cranking them out in USGI Army blankets for 9 years now. I started doing them for him, and then I just handed him the keys. We have found that US Army blanket is a perfect work layer. It's not the warmest thing in the world, it's not the softest thing in the world, but that fabric has legs. The Army did their homework when they made it. It's made to be washable, it's made to be abusable. In the worst case scenario, we can fix it. But when customers send in these nicer blankets, we have a bit of a vetting process to make sure they're really willing to invest the time and energy both in the fabric, which might really anger their spouse, or if they're going to go online and buy one. Hudson Bay blankets themselves are super insulators. I mean, the fabric was designed as a winter fabric. I mean, people were making garments out of them way back when. You could sleep in them, you could wear them, you could make a capote, whatever it was you were going to do. This fabric came off the mill with a certain specification that they have stuck to this day. They're wonderful. They are not the toughest fabric in the world, but they will offer an amazing amount of loft for what they are. And that's why I love working in them. They're also just drop dead beautiful. So you get a garment that's unique. I mean, even the older ones, faded though they may be sometimes, just have a personality that you're proud to wear. I mean, you've got something on you that you had some stake in. You either found the blanket, it's an old, heirloom in your family, or you happen to come upon it as a treasure in a secondhand store. You know, it's a great fabric to work with. They're super warm. Sometimes they're a little too warm. You can't really get up to speed in them. And the other one that Walter mentioned, the Italian Army blankets, are hands down probably the toughest, roughest, quite possibly the scratchiest surplus fabric we've ever found. But I have one Boreal shirt and one Boreal shirt only, and it is somewhere between it's somewhere between 6 and 8 years old right now, and it's made from an Italian wool blanket, and it looks like the day I made it. I know I have to wear something under it because I'm not as tough as I'd like to be, but I also know that it has been to hell and back with me, and the fabric does not care. It's a fantastic insulator. It's relatively windproof. Whatever they did to make that particular fabric, they did right. And if I could buy a Connex full of original Italian blankets, I would do it. Because I know I'm going to be making heirloom garments that are not going to suffer from ordinary use.
So with these blankets like these Hudson Bays and you know, the Whitneys, if they're frayed a bit on the end, is that not a problem?
Not at all. Actually, we will go ahead and finish every seam that's in this. And this one in particular, you see we've serged all the edges because they're all going to get turned on themselves. We leave nothing to chance. We really don't want it to start falling apart at any one point. So we're going to cover every seam and every edge with 1, 2, possibly 3 layers of stitching depending on where it's at. We don't want it coming apart unless you really want it to, you know, bash through the brush. And then we can patch those holes that you put in it. So we've got the front panel ready to go. We've got the pocket with the inner pocket in there. We've got the stripe kind of mostly lined up despite how wobbly this black fabric is through the middle. I'm now going to close up these sleeves and then they'll switch to the big machine, which is really what we need to stitch this fabric that is enlarged, but it's ready to go as a garment and not a blanket. All right, pardon me for a sec. I need to make, you know, Renaissance armor out of. And I actually broke a machine sewing them.
You ever had a Holland or a Dutch?
Yeah, they're fluffy and soft.
Oh yeah, that's.
Oh man. You can make a study of, you know, European surplus blankets that we wish we had kept.
Yeah,
and the
I
good
actually
gray
tried to
ones,
make my
not,
own.
Yeah, not the
Dutch.
ABE Dutch, but the gray Dutch ones. And we've sewn Russian blankets, we've sewn Czech blankets, Yugoslavians. I actually, years ago, decided to search out the heaviest serger one could get, short of getting like a carpet sewing machine. And I came up with this beauty back here on the table. It's a little 5-thread Pegasus walking foot serger. And if anybody knows sewing machines, they know that's a significant piece of wood. And I have yet to put it to use, but it's going to chew through these blankets like butter when I do set it up.
So kind of your new model for these types of shirts is you're going to sew them up as a customer sends them in?
Yep. I no longer produce the Boreal shirt as a stock product just because our wool goes to making coats and shirts and vests. I have a couple of trained sewers who do just that for me. And it came down to the price of the material being more than I could spare for the garment I was getting out of it. You can buy a standard Boreal shirt at Lester River Bushcraft from the Army blanket material we use. Jason and I share the supplier. But I have had more fun turning other people's blankets into them. And I enjoy it because they've, as a customer, have got an attachment to the fabric even before the garment starts. It's not like they're buying it sight unseen. They know what they're putting into it, and they have a little bit of, you know, they've got a stake in it. They're putting something up to get it made, so it becomes extra special for them. And I've had wonderful stories about, you know, blanket went to, you know, such and such a country with me, or it was my grandmother's, or I bid on this on eBay and I'm so happy I got it. You know, it has some meaning even before I take a scissors to it. So this is a service we offer. We do the Boreal shirt with the hood. We do the Scout shirt, which just has this type of zipper collar on it. And we'll do also the traditional wool blanket shirt, you know, devoid of all technology whatsoever. And we will take them in, you know, 4 or 5 a month when we have time, and do the conversion and send them back.
So I actually saw this service from you on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on the same name as your company. So the best way to get a hold of you is just to send you the email? Or?
Email through our website. There's actually an entire page of shirts we've converted on there where you can read it. You can learn a little more about the process. You can see the ones we've turned out, and the pricing is there as well. But it's one of the services we offer in lieu of just producing them ourselves. I mean, we could, but you know, the fabric we get in is so valuable as other products to us that we prefer just to channel it to that. So we now have the body of the garment pretty much done. What I'll do next is I'll switch to a heavier machine and I'll install the hood. And then we'll put that on and have Walt try it on before we go any further. Press down on it.
So we're back and he's starting to put everything together on this machine. He was just explaining to me the differences between the walking foot and the flat bed.
So if you notice, this foot in the middle here actually walks forward with the needle to press down. And that is really for doing heavier, thicker garments. This is a walking foot sewing machine you might use for sewing packs and such. In this case, I'm using it because this wool is so thick I couldn't do this seam very easily on a normal tailoring machine. So I just skip right ahead and use my heavy pack sewing machine on this wool.
And that would be indicative for all the type of blankets you get depending on the one.
Yeah, and in these Hudson Bay conversion blankets are usually really, really thick. I mean, I doubt you could do this on a home sewing machine setup, but on these industrials, it's just another day at the office. So that's our completed hood. Move all this out of the way and bring the whole bodice over. And there is where we're going to set it in. I teach a sewing class every year at our winter camping symposium, and we usually do one garment from our line or a simple variation of it. And I have 3 rules we start the class with. Number 1 is everything starts as flat pieces of fabric, and we're just making tunnels out of it. Number 2, all your work is done inside out. And number 3 is do the big work first, and then get the complicated stuff out, and then the simple stuff comes towards the end. So we put all our energy so far for the last 2 hours into getting the panels cut, getting them lined up, and then assembling the hood, the pocket, the front, the sleeves, and such. Now we're going to actually start putting them together. You can see that seam is about a ½ inch thick. So it's going to take a bit to get through it. We're going to run once around to set that hood in, and then we'll go twice around on the outside edge to lock it down. My favorite part about teaching is to watch people who may have never built a garment in their life reach that point when they're no longer confused by what they're doing, and they get it. They look at how it's gone together and they understand what happened. Actually, says the instructor who put the tag on the wrong side of the garment. So we're going to clip that off and we're going to put it back in the neck in a minute. So I'm sewing it about a ½ inch, ½ inch seam allowance, ½ inch from the edges. I'm going to line up these registration marks, coming around the back of the shoulder, right off the back of the neck. 2 passes on the shoulder seam there. And I'm going to kind of just ease this in back to the starting point. Alrighty. So this is our hang loop that I had placed on the wrong side of the garment. Pick off all those threads. And I'll go put it back where it should be, right in the middle of the back. Right there. And then we inside the collar. Alright, so we've gone around once to lock it down. Now I'm going to go stitch down those thick edges. So the next step is to go back to the serger and cover up this seam to make it look nice. qualms about going back and running a second line of stitching. That's something I noticed I got a little close to the edge there. So there we go. Problem solved. Now the patterns we use for the wool are cut a little bit oversized so that there's always a chance to trim off what you don't need rather than not having enough fabric to tuck in a seam. I'm going to go along and just take off any kind of high point that might stick up. And then we're going to return to the serger and overlock this entire edge. And the serger does nothing to add to the strength of the seam, but it does make it cosmetically nicer, and it'll keep all of these raw edges from fraying over the life of the garment. Nice and slow across this because this seam is an honest-to-goodness ½ inch thick. That didn't take it all on the first pass. May not have enough lift on it to get up and form an actual stitch. Close enough. We'll run over it once more with a big machine. And we'll run along the outside. And this trims, there's a little knife here on the side, as it covers the edge with 3 stitches, 3 pieces of thread.
Yeah, this is an awesome program that you're doing.
So we're going nice and slow on here instead of a production speed because this blanket is really thick and I do not want to damage my machinery. That causes much cursing. Alrighty, so we've got that hood set in there. From the inside you see this, the opening from the front and back of the garment. Trim off any of these big wobbly pieces. If you flip it right side out, that's what the finished look is like. Now we're going to go back to the walking foot and we're going to run a layer of top stitching around here to lock that seam down. With this corner, and continue across.
I think I have memory.
Okay.
Oh no, there we go. There we go.
I'm stitching a little triangle in this corner to lock down all the layers and reinforce it, because that's a pretty high stress seam right there. Feel the little hang loop underneath there, so I'm going to lock it down once. That little loop's going to be responsible for holding 7 pounds of garment. Alright, back to where we started. Alright, let's have you try this on. So, here we have the front and the back. We've already sized it to his shoulders. Hold on a sec. So, he's got his hood kind of bunched up under there, but you can see how we fit it across the shoulders. Now we're going to close the side seams up and add the sleeves and measure those. And I've already serged all of the panels on here to make sure the edges are finished. Because at this point we're going to fold them back out on themselves and sew them flat so that there's no bulk. So we're closing up the side seams. We've already finished the top. We've got the hood in place where it would be the collar of the garment. Catch our labels there. Lining up these black stripes so that you've got some continuity through the body. And The nice thing about blankets is you can always stretch them to make them hit the mark. And over time, they will just ease into that size and shape. Alrighty. So, closed off the body. We'll roll these seams out to the side and stitch the little edges down onto themselves. On a thinner fabric, I wouldn't do this, but because this stuff is so thick, I just don't want to leave him with a 1/2 inch seam under each side and across the shoulders. While we are here, I'm going to leave that on the machine. I'm going to go pick up some long hot cut tunnels of Supplex nylon. And we're going to do a tunnel for the draw cord at the bottom of the garment. The bungee stuff will saw right through this wool. This is a long strip of 4-ounce Supplex nylon, just a good garment weight stuff. I'm sewing a tunnel all the way around the bottom of this shirt. On the regular Army wool Boreal shirts, this is just a folded tunnel. Because this wool is a little bit softer and considerably thicker, I'm protecting it from the draw cord itself. The nylon bungee over the life of the garment would saw right through anything on here, but it won't go through this Supplex. So that's what we'll build the tunnel out of. And it's just a good happenstance that this is black on black, so it's not going to look too odd. And as we pass through later, we're going to put a draw cord, a cord lock captured on a tether right there in the seam. Most of our garments are made from wool and canvas, and when it comes to an area like this where we've got any kind of nylon in it, I tend to use a reinforcement that's going to outlast the base fabric. I mean, our draw cords would saw right through canvas as well as wool. So the bottoms of our jackets use a tunnel of Supplex. The inside waistbands on our parkas, the canvas layers, have this as well. And it's not traditional, it's not purist by any method, or any means, but it will last. It's a good functional way to make sure we're protecting your investment. All right, we're going around once. I'm going to run the outside a little bit. go serge it.
This is getting so excited about the shirt guy. This really is an art. I mean, for what I couldn't do this. I don't have the patience nor the skill. Just lucky enough to have the blanket.
People often ask how long it takes to make something. I can say it's about 35 years and a couple of hours to figure it out.
So the whole process, I mean, you and I have been talking about a lot of different stuff, but we've been kind of working now for about, looks to be about 3 hours.
Yeah, and we started with fitting, and it's been nice to kind of talk through this because usually I'm just in here working on these myself. So we have basically the body of the garment ready to go. We'll finish off this bottom seam, put the draw cord tunnels or cord locks in there, and then we'll add the sleeves. So I tend to overbuild right at the outset. I'm not a big fan of separating zippers because they always fail. When I use them, I make sure that they can be removed without having to disassemble a garment. There we go. Out of bobbin way back there. Any place I actually put a zipper in a garment, I make sure there's a port that you can peel open and replace the pull on, because that is that little vulnerable part that makes most of our clothing stop working is a simple 5-minute fix if you can get to it. These little pulls they wear out. The internal parts that mash the teeth together in alignment are made from brass. And even against plastic, brass will lose eventually.
So this is your Scout shirt, correct?
This is this is a Gray Fox pullover.
Okay. You still make those?
I do occasionally. I haven't managed to train a sewer to do it for me, so once in a blue moon I'll make 5 or 10 of them, and they go poof. It's my favorite piece. It's the one I wear constantly because it's just fitted well enough and articulated to move, and not too big. It's not oversized. It's just right sized for me.
And it really fills a niche in the market too.
Yeah, it's kind of something of a turbo technical sweater, I call it. I actually designed it with the help of the Surly Bicycle Company. We were talking about making winter clothing that was a little thicker and a little more burly than what was out there. And I sent them prototypes, and they sent me feedback. And there came a point when they said, "This is good, you can stop now." And that's where we are. So, the suplex tunnels, we've got entries on the side rather than in front. We've got that little cord lock anchored for life, so you can use it as a single hand pull. And I'm just locking these down. Front of the garment and the back of the garment and the hood are now all one piece. There we go, one bodice ready to go. Last step for us is to put the sleeves together and then put them on the garment and see how they fit well.
Awesome.
Alrighty. So, turn these right sides out. We're going to go ahead and stitch those seams flat, and this is where having this particular configuration called a post bed, where the machine works on a little post, is really super handy, as we can stitch right down into this sleeve instead of having to do this inside out working on a flat machine.
That's pretty slick.
Yeah, we were able to just kind of thread it right on there like a big knitting needle. And now we're just going to work right back off. Could have done that on the regular flatbed sewing machine out in front of me, but it would have had to been inside out, and there would have been a lot more cursing. So there's a completed sleeve. This is by no means how ordinary garments go together. Because of how thick this blanket is and how serious it is to put it together, having this walking foot pack sewing machine really makes it possible. A project like this would probably kill a home sewing machine. Alrighty. So we've got the two sleeves. They're assembled. We've got the body that's fully built. And we're going to put them together.
Okay, can't lie, I'm getting very excited.
Alright, so we know that faces backwards. You'll notice I'm not stopping to use pins on this. The reason is that it would actually take me more time to put them in, take them out, and I would run the risk of actually damaging these machines if I happen to hit one and it was drawn down into the working underneath this work surface here. So pins are usually a no-no in industrial sewing, just because we're so used to holding the panels and hitting the registration marks that you can see that I don't use them. And the nice thing about the industrials is everything, all the drive, all the function is done with my foot, and I've got both hands to hold fabric. Thread around here. There's a mark. Where is it? Trying to find my mark. Ah, there we go. Alrighty.
Oh man.
The last step in the sewing, aside from doing the cuffs, is to just do the flat seam around the shoulders.
this thing looks like it would be a tent over the top of him. So for us guys with cases instead of 6-packs, don't fret, because you can make a 6-point blanket work.
Oh yeah.
And if you've made it this far through the video, I just want you to know I'm not a professional photographer. So this will be edited on my iMovie to do the best I can. But if you've made it this far and you're interested in the Boreal Shirt and its construction, thank you. Gotta get that caveat out there. I find myself truly blessed to be able to have a lot of wool. I love wool. For those of you who know me from Bushcraft USA, know I do a lot of time, you know, hunting and fishing and trapping. You know, I don't put together these videos where it's pretty much all staged, so everything you see from me is basically real life. And you know that I love my wool. And I think we're done, except for a few little touches. And
Figure out where you want those cuffs to be, and you are good to go. So
all right.
on.
So here we are. This is amazing. This is really nice. I can get a lot of layering underneath. With it being 10 below 0 out, I couldn't even feel the weather. Kevin finished up the tabs. You know, I can pull it in to keep the wind from coming up my butt. And it's just perfect. I mean, I just can't believe it.
We went a little higher on the hood so Walt can get any hat he wants to under there, or a helmet if he happens to be on a snow machine. Let's do a full spin here. And that is one Boreal Shirt. Got a little bit of hood stuck up under there, but it's really rare that I get somebody that gets to come in and have a fitting. We went piece by piece, panel by panel, and cut this to the point that he smiled, and then we kept going from there.
Yep, that's just outstanding.
All right. Thanks for watching.